act however you want, say whatever you want, I'll be okay. Kind
Okay,
of thing.
cool. Good. Permission granted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hi, welcome to See You Live. My name is Walker Evans. I'm the co-founder of ColumbusUnderground.com. Joining me today is Jess Brohard, eSports host, gamer, streamer,
Yep.
all kinds of things. Thanks,
That's
Jess,
right.
for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Cool. Well, when I reached out to you about coming on and shooting some of these videos, we talked about gaming and fitness and a variety of things. And you brought up the topic you want to talk about mental health,
Yes.
Recovery, wellness, you know, these kinds of things. I guess to start, do you want to just maybe tell us a little bit about your story and why you brought this up as a topic?
Yes, I would love to, because it's one of those things that a lot of people, especially like the alcoholism thing. So to start, you know, I suffer from anxiety and depression, and I am a recovering alcoholic, and I have 23 months of sobriety as of yesterday. So
Congrats.
Coming up on 2 years,
Yeah.
you know, in a month, one day at a time, hopefully though, we only have today. And it's, you know, I know it can be kind of a touchy subject, and a lot of people it's funny because a lot of people, you know, they'll like, if they maybe offer me a drink and I'm like, no thanks. And they're like, no, really, you should have one. I'm like, oh no, really, I'm an alcoholic. They go, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
If I had taken that drink, you should be sorry,
Yeah.
but I didn't. So we're all good. It's something that like I feel very strongly that like with both mental health and recovery, like I feel that people should talk about it if they're comfortable. I don't think everybody has to, but I think I talk about it a lot because I think it's the only way to destigmatize it and to kind of normalize it and to say, you know, like obviously, you know, alcoholics are not like pariahs, we're not like outcasts from society or whatever, but a lot of people still have a lot of misconceptions of what it really means to be an alcoholic or like what an alcoholic looks like kind of thing.
Well, I think, and this is kind of my experience just in talking to all kinds of different people all the time, is that if it's something that you don't feel like you have a lot of expertise in, you don't know how to talk to someone,
Sure.
so you just avoid the conversation as
Definitely.
a whole. Are there things that, you know, just to teach me, are there things that, you know, certain things that should be said or not said, or like how do you approach conversations or topics while trying to be sensitive but also supportive? I
really appreciate you asking that. I think the thing you'll find, or the thing in my experience with myself and with many alcoholics, is that we know that we can only control ourselves, you know, and we know that people are going to have a variety of different reactions to us. And so it's not like, not everybody is comfortable like talking about alcoholism and stuff like that. So like, it's okay if you're not, it's okay if, you know, you're like, it's okay if you don't even want to bring it up or whatever. I think that for me, like no matter how you react or no matter how you approach it, like I'll be okay. Because I can't live my life thinking, oh, if this person, because that's kind of the whole like fundamental, you know, part about like sobriety is, you know, I can't control how anyone else is acting, and I can't use anyone else as an excuse for my drinking or anything like that, you know? So it's not like, oh no, this person triggered me, so now I have to have a drink or anything like that. No, because if I think that way, I'm going to start drinking again.
Right.
So act however you want, say whatever you want, I'll be okay. Kind of thing.
Cool. Good. Permission granted.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, talking a bit about, you mentioned anxiety and depression, you know, it feels like there's a larger public conversation going on about these kinds of things. There are more people kind of opening up and talking about struggles they've been through.
Yeah.
Do you think that, you know, these things have always kind of been there and maybe people just have hidden it?
Yes.
Or is there just, or is there more anxiety because the world feels
also, yes,
crazier and there's just more going on, and
yes,
our lives are so fast paced, you know, partly because of the internet and social media, but just the news cycle and everything going on. It sounds like it's some combination of those things? It's
all of those things. You literally hit the nail on the head with every single thing. So first of all, just to take it back like 50 years, if you think about, you know, obviously I didn't grow up in the 1950s, but like, you know, I feel like, you know, I have parents who were born in the 50s, and like we've seen it on TV and stuff like that. We've heard stories, and the general kind of mentality is like, you know, men, first of all, were not allowed to have feelings. You know, men had to be like, you know, tough, and, you know, we're not allowed to show emotion. And then women like could show emotion, but that's okay because they're all hysterical, you know? And like, obviously kind of like attitudes are changing. And I think the thing is there were just as many chemical imbalances back then. It's just like the treatment options and the stigmas were not allowing people to kind of deal with their stuff. Yeah. Whereas now there have been a lot more conversations, and there's a lot more resources. There are also a lot more ways to get help, and people feel a lot more comfortable talking about this kind of stuff. And then also, you know, like with everything that's going on, not just in the US, but in the whole world in terms of, gosh, you know, the pandemic, certain, you know, human rights issues going on, certain racial tensions going on, climate change. There's a lot going on. So like I did hear a statistic, I don't remember what the exact number was, but like depression rates have skyrocketed. Or I mean, I think the way they measured that is like the rates of people seeking help and seeking treatment for depression have just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, you know?
Sure. I was listening to a podcast recently, like a historical presidency podcast that kind of went one by one through the presidents and kind of talked about all of them. And one of the ones I found really interesting was Calvin Coolidge, who like I don't know anything about.
Yeah,
I know that he
neither do
was
I.
called Silent Cal, I think, because
I didn't even know
speak
that.
a lot. But in listening to this podcast, they were talking about how I think he lost a child, you know, because people just lost kids to like
Sure, it just happened back
tuberculosis and all
then.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
And he really kind of went into a depression after that. Like that's what kind of
course.
triggered when he sort of like became detached, you know. But
That's why he was silent.
Yeah. And so people kind of just like made fun of him in the newspapers, you know, for that sort of thing. Whereas if it were someone going through this today, they would have been diagnosed as having some sort of, you know, depression or anxiety or, you know, some sort of issue and could get some sort of treatment or be able to talk about it and be more open. But back then, like they didn't even know how to diagnose it. They just thought, that guy's broken.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
So.
Well, it's just there's so much as we learn more about, you know, the human body and human brain. Like we just make so many more discoveries and like we learn things that we, you know, there are so many like diseases and such that we didn't even know about back then. And like mental illnesses, like, you know, there have been just like, because if you look at how a lot of mental illnesses are like diagnosed or categorized, like it's constantly changing. You know, there are things that were diagnosed even 10 years ago, like even like the whole like autism spectrum.
Sure.
You know, back in the day it wasn't really understood, and then they came up with a name for it, and they're calling it autism, and then okay, now they have this separate thing that they're calling Asperger's. Well, now they're calling it the autism spectrum disorder, but you know, it's not like these individual people have necessarily changed. It's just that like their diagnosis has changed as medical science has evolved.
Yeah. As someone who is very plugged in, it sounds like both, you know, what you do for work and for fun, do you find the need to like disconnect and just kind of shut things off? Do you have techniques? Do you meditate?
Yeah.
Like, how do you just like block everything out, you know, just for the sake of...
Yeah, totally.
You know,
there's a lot of stuff that I do. And like one thing, and this is common among like people who are, you know, working in, because like gaming and esports is very like fast paced. And when you do anything that you have like a very social media facing job, it's like, there's, you know, we all know there's a lot of like stress and there's a lot that comes with being plugged into like social media all the time. So what a lot of people that I know do, and I haven't done this in a while, but I need to, is just like take a social media break because like it's really bad. I've noticed this in myself and other people have observed it too. When, regardless of if it's like good or bad interactions, you get addicted to having those interactions. You get addicted to like having people tweet at you, whether they're saying good things or bad things. And it's like that like spike of adrenaline and, you know, and sometimes you kind of need to walk away from that, you know, for
Sitting
like,
there hitting refresh, seeing if they responded.
Yeah, exactly.
Good or bad, refresh.
Yes, like let me purposely tweet something controversial just to get the reactions, and then you do, and then you get that instant hit, and it's like really bad. And so I need to like unplug because I haven't done that in a while. But a lot of people I know will unplug for a whole weekend at a time, or like for some people I know unplug every weekend. They're like every Friday they're like, all right, well I'm leaving the office, so I'm not checking Twitter anymore. And I'm like, good for you. I wish I had that much willpower, but I don't. But I also, you know, we've talked about I love to exercise, and that's like huge for mental health as well. And I haven't done yoga in a while, but I love yoga. And also like there are some great breathing techniques that I like to do as well, which are just, you know, as simple as like inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, you know, and it's very very stress relieving.
Nice. Oh, I know we mentioned kind of before starting this video, you know, you mentioned that you don't work in the mental health industry per se, but any advice that you would give to someone, you know, just looking for help, resources they can turn to, people they can talk to here in Central Ohio, or, you know, just online resources?
Oh yeah. So as far as here in Central Ohio, I'm unfortunately not too plugged into the local resources because I use BetterHelp for my own therapy counseling sessions, which I think is fantastic, especially in the age of COVID, because it is all video based. So like the way it works is you can message with your therapist, like basically unlimited back and forth, and you get one either video or phone session per week. And it was nice because I started this like right at the beginning of COVID, and I was like, well, I don't know what options there are for in-person therapy anyway, because like a lot of my friends who saw therapists in person said that they were going remote only because of COVID. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to look at remote options. And I'd heard of BetterHelp for a while, and it's been just fantastic. Like it's you know, because you're still going to get like a licensed therapist who's licensed in your state, which I don't know. It's great. I cannot recommend BetterHelp enough.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to talk about this a little bit. Again, it's another topic we could probably spend a lot more time
Definitely.
on. But, thanks for kind of scratching the surface with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.